Hold on a sec. Sorry.
Hello, Director Russell.
There's a weird thing going on. Really sorry. Stop singing. I think that was a joke. Okay, now we should have it. Can people on Zoom hear us? Okay, we did a different login procedure this time and it did something different. So
Sounds like it's working now.
sorry for that.
Okay.
That's fine.
Audio is great now.
Give us just another minute, please. Because you don't need to see me 5 times here. Zoom does strange things even after, what has it been, 3 years of using it all the time.
Yes.
Just about to be.
Yeah. I think I date it from March 13th, which was the day the Sequoias closed down, basically.
Thomas, can you hear me? Okay, he's texting me. So he stopped being the co-host. What I can't do is turn off the other camera. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, everyone. You're gonna have to watch me twice. Only when I'm talking. When I'm not talking, you only have to watch me once. So
Right.
these are the hazards.
Okay.
Okay, we are now ready.
Right. All right. So welcome everybody to our hybrid meeting for the Architectural Site Control Commission for Monday, the 27th of February, 2023. Roll call would be myself, Jane Wilson.
Yeah, Commissioner Sill
Here,
and Commissioner Chung.
Here.
Right. So now we go to opening the public comment section during oral communications. This is where anyone who wants to speak about things that are not on our agenda this evening may do so. Do we have anyone? We have 2 applicants in the room, but no other public people in the room. Do we have any hands up on Zoom for public comment?
We do have a hand up from a phone number, and I just want to make sure that we've got everything lined up here on my side. I'm sorry for the difficulties tonight.
Right.
Thomas, it looks like you're there as a speaker. I just want to make sure everything looks okay on your side. Real quick, Thomas, does it look okay on your side? I'm sorry. You should be able to speak now. Okay, I think we're okay. Thomas, text me if anything is wrong on your side. So we have a phone number ending in 7562. And I believe that's Caroline Vertonghen.
Good evening. Thank you, ASCC commissioners. I do have a general question before we go into the details of this project. The general plan, especially the housing element, has a section where they talk about the capacity of our utilities. And planning housing for the previous housing element was based on the data that they provided, that was provided by Call Water, the sewer departments, and also the other utility companies. Unfortunately, Portola Valley went way over that estimated housing, and we built more than actually was estimated. And I have asked so many times why we don't have an updated capacity from the or a list of capacity data from the utility companies, because that data expired December 22. We, the residents, have felt shortcomings. We have issues with water pressure, we have issues with water quality, with the sewer system, with electricity, with reliable communication. And so I don't understand why we continue to accept new building development when we do not address these issues. And one of those issues will be addressed tonight, because again, this is a new development, and it seems like we're going to skip to present this to the Planning Commission because of some cubic yard waste or soil that falls lower than 1,000 cubic yard. The planning department has made some calculation mistakes in the past, and I'm talking about Palmer Lane is one of the many examples. And we, the residents, are trying to find resolutions. Water has said that the minimum water pressure, according to the CPUC standards, are supposed to be 40 PSI. We don't have that, we have 32. The fire hydrants are supposed to have 54. They don't have that. It's very unreliable. So it's a question of safety, and I hope you will take that in consideration. I know it's not specifically your purview, but perhaps you can recommend that this project goes to the Planning Commission and the other committees for further investigation as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, do we have any other public comments?
No, there are no other hands up.
Right, okay. I'll close all communications then, and Al and Kenny, are you okay with me chairing the meeting from here, since I am here?
That sounds good, Jane.
I just wanted to confirm, I know we haven't had our election yet. All right. Okay, so let's move on to the first item on our agenda this evening, and that is the Woodside Priory project feasibility study. And do we have Jake Garcia to present?
We do, yes.
All right, so let's hand it over to Jake. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Chair. I will share my screen. Okay, great. My name is Jake Garcia. I'm a consulting planner for the town. And the item before you tonight is a request for a conceptual design review for a new gym, new fitness center, an addition remodel to the existing locker room, an addition remodel to an existing chapel, and other projects for a forthcoming conditional use permit amendment at the Woodside Priory School, the 302 Portola Road. The Woodside Priory School is a private college preparatory school, a private college preparatory school for grades 6 through 12. The campus is approximately 50 acres in size and is designated for institution land uses in the general plan and is in the town's residential estate zoning district. It is a conditional use governed by a conditional use permit, which was first approved in 1968 and most recently amended in 2021. An overall master plan map of the campus visually implements the development standards as detailed in the CUP language. CUP is short for conditional use permit, and the approved map is shown here on your screen. The Priory is requesting amendments to the CUP and overall master plan map and has requested that the ASCC first provide a conceptual design review of the forthcoming development proposals to provide preliminary design feedback and guidance to the applicant team as they proceed with project designs, and request to the Planning Commission to make an amendment to the existing CUP. After CUP approval, each of these projects will be reviewed once more by the ASCC for final architectural review and approval. Therefore, the provided plans and associated information that you are reviewing today are conceptual at this point. And when final proposed plans are available, town staff will conduct a complete review for consistency with the town's municipal code, the design guidelines, the general plan, and the approved governing CUP. On your screen is the proposed conceptual overall master plan, which identifies the following forthcoming projects, which include a new gym circled in blue, a new fitness center circled in orange, locker room renovation and addition circled in red, a chapel renovation and addition circled in yellow, a monastery renovation circled in green, new academic offices circled in purple, and a middle school playground circled in lighter blue. And the applicant team has conceptual architectural drawings for projects 1 through 4 on your screen. In the following slides, we'll go through these conceptual plans in more details. And conceptual plans for projects 5 through 8 are not yet available, but are included here for reference as they are proposed projects included in the CUP amendment and are to be further detailed at a later date. I'll now go ahead and present projects 1 through 4 in more detail. Starting first with the new gym circled in blue, it is proposed to be a 21,000 square foot in size and is located in place of an existing tennis court. It would be a 3-story building that is primarily on the level surface and is also partially built into an existing hillside. The building is proposed to have non-combustible exterior materials and a Class A roof. Final exterior materials have not yet been specified, and exterior colors have not yet been specified, but the colors must comply with the town's lighting reflectivity requirements. Here are the elevations, starting with the north elevation, which would open up to the plaza, facing other athletic buildings and structures interior to the campus. And the south elevation, which faces outward from the campus towards a baseball field. And here's the west elevation, which is located up the hillside. And the east elevation, which faces existing campus residential buildings. Next is the proposed 2-story fitness building circled in orange to the south of the proposed gym. The building is proposed to be 4,382 square feet and constructed into an existing hillside. The project proposes a site path around the rear and side of the building. The building is proposed to have non-combustible exterior materials. Final exterior materials have not yet been specified. The roof has been specified to consist of a Class A metal standing seam roof, a porcelain tile roof deck, and a membrane roof overhang. No exterior colors have been specified. Colors must comply with the town's light reflectivity requirements once again. And here are the elevations for the fitness center. The south elevation in the top right corner opens up to the plaza, and the north elevation faces the hillside. The west elevation would face the gym, and the east elevation faces interior to the existing campus. The applicant team has provided a rendering for the proposed gym and fitness center for additional context. The gym is on the left side of the screen and the fitness center is on the right side. Both are oriented around a central plaza shared by the existing Gambetta gym and existing pool. Next is the locker room addition remodel. This building is circled in red. The existing gym locker rooms are proposed to be renovated and include a 1,306 square foot addition. The areas of addition will allow for a new team room on the west end of the building and infill smaller areas of the building so the building is more uniform in shape. On your screen in red is the area of addition and the corresponding elevations where the additions are planned to be. The building is proposed to have non-combustible materials, including cementous group panels to match the existing materials, a veneer neolith rain screen, and 2 new bronze anodized skylights on the south-facing roof of the building. The roof materials have not yet been specified, and no exterior colors have been specified. Colors also must comply with the town's light reflectivity values. And finally, we'll talk about the proposed chapel renovation and addition. The existing chapel is proposed to be renovated and expanded with a 738 square foot addition to widen the seating area to allow for more students to be seated in the building. And a 754 square foot office building is proposed adjacent to the chapel. The 2 buildings are proposed to have non-combustible materials, including porcelain tile siding, metal clad windows, and a Class A metal standing seam roof. No exterior colors have been specified for this building either. And here are the elevations. This slide shows the public noticing conducted. Notice was sent to all properties within 1,000 square feet. I'm sorry, 1,000 feet radius of the project. And 1 public comment expressing support has been received for the forthcoming projects. And that is the end of the staff presentation. Both staff and the applicant team are available for any questions by the ASCC. I believe the applicant team is present in person today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jake. Commissioners, do we have any questions? Kenny?
Just on process, my understanding is that these conceptual reviews are an opportunity for the applicant to get some feedback to reduce the number of potential questions or items for discussion when it comes up for final consideration. So do I understand correctly that this is essentially going to come back to us? And also whether or not this, I thought I had understood from the packet that this was going to require an amendment to the CUP, which would go to the planning commission. Is that correct? Or did I misread something? Or not something correctly?
Yeah, I think.
Yes. Oh, did you have something to add to that?
Jake, go ahead.
Okay. I actually prepared a slide for this just in case it came up, and it was the first question, so I'll go ahead and share my screen. But the entitlement process would consist of a CUP amendment first for the projects that have been listed. They would need to amend the CUP to essentially allow for the proposed projects, and the following step, once the CUP amendment is approved, and if the CUP amendment is approved, would be an architectural review by the ASCC for each of the projects prior to their building permit applications. The current step that we are in comes before CUP amendment and is highlighted on the screen. And so this is indeed the step to allow for like a preliminary review to provide any guidance to the applicant team as they move forward through this process.
And I would just add to that, that we are going to be in communication with the applicant on the most expeditious way forward for them. So there may be some overlap between these steps. So there's not necessarily, a linear step 1, 2, 3. But there could be some overlap between these things as we work with them on the different phasing.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay, so did you have any more questions, Kenny?
No, that's it for me. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Sill? No?
No questions. I thought Jake did a good job summarizing things. So no, I don't have any other questions.
Right, thank you. And I don't have any questions either. So we'll hand over to the applicants for their presentation.
And we have a new microphone. I don't know if that one's on yet. Could you test it?
Sounded like something. Yeah.
Go first,
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for the time today. Grateful for your service to our town. I am newer to Priory. This is my 3rd year, and just very grateful for the opportunity to be with you. We've worked hard with Laura and Jake to really bring these projects to life. As you can see, part of them are, at least one of them is part of our master plan that was originally conceived in 2005 and has kind of made its way through different renderings, but was most recently amended in 2021. But we're excited about what we have, going forward, for us. And I'll just take a little bit in reverse order. Our chapel really is the heart of our school. It's been a place that we've gathered, for 65 years, and has been probably one of the most consistent aspects of what we offer as a Benedictine community. Currently, we can't all fit in the chapel, and so we're requesting slight additions on both sides, as well as a new roof that will be very similar in height to what is currently there at one end of our chapel. But but to make it so that we can all fit in the chapel and all gather. We gather weekly as an entire community, for service, and then obviously our monks host mass on Sundays. They've been doing that for years. We host a very kind of robust Hungarian community as well on Sunday late morning. So it just provides us with an opportunity to gather, and then relocating campus ministry, to that proximate location again makes work more efficient and expeditious. So we just think those are critical to our mission and really will allow us to serve our students better. All of the projects that you've heard today, even the ones that we don't have conceptual drawings for, do not increase the size of our school in any way. We're not looking for more students. We're not looking for more faculty and staff. We think our size is important. We're grateful for the amendment that was approved most recently to increase our average daily attendance to 394. Again, that just gives us an opportunity to really develop that critical mass that's so important for a school, whether it's critical mass of different ethnicities on campus, so that our students can see themselves represented in their classmates, but also our faculty and staff, or critical mass for the many programs we have, to offer, whether it's that, high level math class, the orchestra, the swim team, the robotics team. Having those few extra students really allows us a chance to present our students with opportunities, that wide range of opportunities that are so important to experience during high school. And I think one of the things that really drew me to Priory was the opportunity for our students to really experience so many different activities and things that they may not have been able to experience if they didn't have the facilities or the support. So that's where these facilities really come into play. You heard about our monastery. You're looking for some renovations there. Obviously, it was built for a much larger monastic community. We have 3 monks on campus, 88-year-old, 85-year-old, and a 72-year-old. And they are very much active and engaged in what we do each day. We're providing them with a space that's more appropriate for them, providing them with appropriate guest housing, and then developing part of that monastery so that we can have our faculty and staff, our lay faculty and staff, and our wider community really engage in some of the activities that will allow us to continue to be a Benedictine school, long after our monks, these pillars in our community, are not with us. We always hope to have monks on campus, but we know whoever comes after these people will not have been in our school for 59 years and 50 years respectively. So we want to continue to find ways for our faculty and staff to learn, this Benedictine way, and developing some resources in the monastery just makes sense for us, so we can offer different programming to our faculty and staff. So we're kind of a minor adjustment there, but something that would really, again, allow us to in perpetuity continue to share these values with lay people, like me. And then finally, the athletics. We obviously were founded as a all boys boarding school, back in the late 50s, and now we're a co-ed 6 through 12 school, that really serves, Portola Valley, but also, the wider, kind of Silicon Valley. And, our needs and realities, have changed. We look at the offerings, that our students are participating in, but then we also look at their own physical needs, whether it's strength and conditioning or, locker room use. Right now we want to provide and be responsive to the needs of our students, whether it's upper school and middle school, providing them the appropriate, places so that they can change, prepare for whatever activities they have athletically, providing our students with the concept of lifelong fitness and how important that is. So providing an area where they can work out, and not simply an area where, our soccer team or lacrosse team can lift weights, but really more where all of our students can understand the importance of lifelong fitness and learn how, to take care of their bodies as we also take care of their minds. But then also looking at the facilities our students need, whether it's, gender non-binary, or the gender fluidity that exists in our world, providing the appropriate spaces for our students to change, shower, and prepare, not only for competition, but also for the rest of their day. Those realities didn't exist, certainly back in 1957. They didn't exist in 2005, when this master plan was first approved. And so we just find ourselves needing more facilities, bigger spaces for these facilities. So it's not new facilities, it's just bigger spaces for our facilities to meet the realities, of our students. We also believe that the facilities that we're proposing, will be flexible enough so that we can really support and serve, our needs for, the next decade plus. Again, we can't imagine what the future will be, but we want to provide as much flexibility, as we can. Again, no new additions to our size in terms of people. The buildings that we're proposing, they don't impact our neighbors in terms of views, or heights. We do want to work with conservation on the landscaping plan, and we'll certainly, work closely with them. We know we've been blessed to be part of this town since its beginning, and we certainly want to continue to be the good neighbors, the good stewards, of the spirit of this town. And so, and we know our facilities certainly help tell our story, but help kind of bring those values to life too. So grateful for your time. Really would love your comments. I know, Kenny, we tried to connect this weekend and just, we couldn't make it happen. And Al, hopefully you'll get a chance to see our campus. I'm not sure if either one of you have been on our campus, but would be happy and love to show you around, just so you can see kind of where things are and where things are going.
All right. Carter, did you have anything to add to Mr. Ruff?
Just a little bit. Patrick, thank you. I really wanted to the reason that we're asking for the preliminary review, is to solicit your input. So as we put the designs together, and move forward, that we really are doing that in concert with the ASCC. There's really three kinds of projects. There are, some remodeling projects that aren't adding, square footage. There are projects that are already anticipated by the existing conditional use permit that was approved, in 2005. That portion was really around the athletics addition, which, for us is the fitness center. And from a design standpoint, we're hoping that you had a chance to look at that in more detail. And then there's several projects that are minor, in the square footage expansion. They're not really changes in use. The chapel expansion is about, 275 or 375 square feet on each side of the chapel. And then there's the relocation, of the campus ministries, which are currently in kind of some under improved and poor quality office spaces, as part of the classroom areas. And then there's the expansion of the existing locker rooms, where we're attaching the girls' locker rooms to the boys' locker rooms, so that we can provide sexual, sex, and kind of sport parity, in that building. And we're providing parity by adding another team room, so that when a game is going on, the home team and the visiting teams will have team rooms. But then, for practices, the boys teams and the girls teams, will have, their own team rooms. Kind of the elephant in the room, is the gym addition, which wasn't anticipated by, the original conditional use permit. And as Patrick has talked about, we really didn't plan for it, but there's for sure a need. A lot of the practices right now are going late into the evening, and it puts a strain, on the students, having practices late into the evening. And there's a desire and a need, to have, two gyms so that two different sports and or two different sexes, could have, their practices at the same time and still get home, at a rational time in the evening, so that there can be balance between athletics, and academics, which is a strong tenet for the Priory and has been for a long time. But because, the activities are now competing for the, for that gym space, there's, a problem to be solved there. The placement of the buildings, has been, to locate them in places that would have little to no, offsite impact, architecturally. Then they've also been placed, and I'm not sure I can do it without being on a Zoom meeting, so that there's a cascading of outdoor spaces around which buildings are gathered. At the top of the campus, there's the garden building, which is, creates an outdoor space for gathering around which, there are buildings. At the middle school campus, there's a group of buildings, around an outdoor space. As you come down at the dining hall, there's a similar gathering of outdoor spaces. At the stream building, there's a gathering around, some outdoor space there. At Schilling Square, there's, another outdoor space, where there's classroom, classroom buildings and the chapel. Come down to the Performing Arts Center and the Founders Hall and the music, there's this outdoor space. At the fitness center, at the fitness area at the back of the current gym, and this where the swimming pool is, there'll be a gathering. And Jake, if I could ask you to put the plan up, for the kind of the fitness center gym. We could maybe look at that together.
Yes, one moment.
No problem. But this repeating theme of the gathering of spaces, as they cascade down the hill, is the reason that the CUP added floor area was shifted away, from the back of the gym, so that the back of the gym could actually be the new, have a real front, on the athletic square. And
Are you referring to the site plan?
yes, that's a perfect site plan. So that, at the top side of the existing gym, we're creating this outdoor space, and at the end of the pool, this outdoor space with a fountain and a square, where the stairs come down the hill, and we have the front of the new gym, and then we have the front of the the fitness center, and so that we create a sense of synergy and energy, around those activities. It's the reason those buildings have been kind of pulled apart and pushed back into the hill. And I know that there were some questions, about the the protection of the trees. And Jane, if I could come up, I
Yep.
can show you kind of the existing aerial photograph. So this is the existing, so this is the pool, the back of the gym.
Right.
The new gym is going to be over here. The
Yep.
fitness center is here, kind of where these trees are.
Okay,
This is the same aerial photograph
right,
from 1953.
okay. Yes,
So this area where the fitness center would be, and this area where the gym would be,
mhm,
in 1953 had no trees.
right,
There was one tree up here, and right now that tree is this fallen down mess.
right. Okay,
Jake, would you bring up those PDFs so everyone can see on Zoom as well?
okay,
So this is the 1953 image, and kind of the placeholders, are the green spots. The one on the right identifies kind of the center of the swimming pool, and the one on the left, identifies about the entrance, of the gym. So if we could look at the 2002. you can see that the slope, to the right, of the swimming pool is covered with trees now. Most of those trees are actually acacias. There are a few pretty good sized oaks in there. But if we go back to 1953, that slope had no trees at all. So all of those trees, have either volunteered or been planted, by the monks, since 1956 when the priory was first started.
Right, okay. To fill the other commissioners in on why Carter is addressing this now is because when I was at the property this afternoon, I mentioned that when conservation visited, they would be concerned about the oaks. And also there are some redwoods by the gym, which I believe conservation will be less concerned over, but they are causing damage to the walkways and the exterior of the gym. But that was why Carter's brought this up, because these trees were obviously introduced and planted by the Woodside Priory, but it was just that I did want to say that the trees would be a concern for conservation, but I believe that the Priory and CJW are going to be consulting, well, not consulting, but inviting conservation in to see what they can advise before the next iteration of the plan comes before us.
Well, and that's really, Jane, why we're here is we want to make sure, that as stewards of the land and of Portola Valley and the Priory, that we come to these conclusions, together.
Right.
Because it is our intent, to create as little impact, as possible, while, still answering, the functional and operational needs, for the Priory and the students, of all sports and all sexes.
Right.
So in general, what we're hoping for is, tonight is to get, some level of feedback, so that, as we're going, to the Planning Commission, for these minor additions, and the gym, that we all are working together, to answer those needs. From a colors and materials standpoint, the reason that we're identifying non-combustible materials, in this application, is that the town has, changed the rules, about materials. The Woodside Priory has historically had a lot of combustible materials, including, cedar and redwood, on the exterior of the buildings. And we want to make sure that we carry on kind of the aesthetics, of those darker, kind of ruddy, more rustic materials, but pick materials that will qualify, as ignition proof. That's why at the gym, we're talking about a neolith, product, which is a composite product that has a stone-like appearance. It comes in large, large format materials, and would be applied to a pretty light steel frame, building, so that it can be affordable. At the chapel, we're planning on, because it's a wood frame building, and it has beautiful, redwood siding on it. Our intention is to remove the redwood siding, and actually be able to reutilize that, on the interior, of the chapel expansion, and the chapel renovation, and probably inside of Campus Ministries building as well. But on the exterior, of the building, we're planning on using large format porcelain tile. It's more like a stone, a stone building. So it'll, the technology is a little more commercial, but if you look at the elevations of that, as we move forward, it's trying to introduce, some more religious, geometry. The existing building that's there, that we're essentially taking down, is a pretty ugly little concrete building that was built with almost no money, when they built the first chapel in 1983 or 85, I can't remember. Stecker and Northway, designed a really wonderful, chapel expansion, that created, the sacristy and the altar. And the expansion is actually making essentially the seating area about the same height, as that, just slightly less than that. But those materials and those, are being selected because of their ignition proof, and that they will be in a position to carry forth, colors that will be compatible, with the rest of the campus. From a landscape standpoint, it's our intention to, carry through, with a pretty informal, very rural, kind of planting strategy, where the areas that are wild are still going to be wild, and the areas around the buildings, are really there, to soften, the buildings, very similar to the way that the landscape, has been developed in Schilling Square. The height, because I know it's going to be an issue, potentially an issue of the new gym, is less than the existing gym. The existing gym, exceeded, even when it was built, the zoning allowance, and there are provisions in the zoning ordinance, that for special buildings, the building could be higher. That building is, but it is less, than the existing, gym. The zoning, because it's zoned residential, is zoned at a 28-foot height limit, which is really almost impossible to try to build an indoor gymnasium. And I don't have the records, and I don't know that they're available, but because the existing gym was built, after the town was incorporated in 1969, 1970. So we're going to be asking for, the height being more than the zoning limits, but less than, what the height of the existing gym is. And we located it behind the existing gym so that it would continue to be screened, from the residential portions of the neighborhood and pushed back into the hill, so that it's nicely seated there. But other than that, looking forward to feedback, comments, encouragement, guidance, coaching, all those good things.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wall. Commissioners, do we have any questions? Commissioner Sill?
I don't think I have any questions. No, I think I understand what's being proposed, and I'll have comments when it's my turn. But I appreciate the presentation, though. It covered things well.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Chung?
I appreciate the presentation as well, and the completeness of the presentation. The one question I had was whether or not, as an organization, there's been an approach to responding to, from a land management point of view, responding to the increased wildfire risk.
I'm sorry?
I didn't quite understand
I
what
didn't-
you said, Kenny.
Sorry, yeah, I split up the sentence. But the question is whether or not Priory has taken up a strategy to respond to the increased wildfire risk from the point of view of the land management.
You want me to answer that?
Oh, yeah, sure.
The Priory has, there's been quite a bit of landscape and brush maintenance that, the Priory has undertaken. Additionally, additional buildings have been fire sprinklered, including the dormitories, to make sure that, that the students are, continue to be safe. And that, as the buildings, as new buildings or, new improvements are happening, it's the Priory's intention, to make them more resilient, to fire, including the changing of roofing materials, exterior siding materials. As the Priory in a lot of ways is quite a bit safer, than some of the other developments in town because of the fire district's input and requirements for the location of fire hydrants and access ways. And those access ways are required to be maintained as open versus ever being cluttered up with cars and kind of other activities. So those are the activities that the Priory currently is planning and is currently undertaking.
The only thing I'd add to that, Kenny, is the past 2 weeks, we've had 5 days of training on our campus by Portola Valley Fire, where they've come and they've really looked at our buildings. They've obviously given us some feedback about what signage could be different or better. But then they've done some training so that they could respond appropriately, but also like they were doing some stuff going up hills, they were doing some cutting, so they were practicing some of their own techniques to respond to fire issues. So a little bit of familiarity with our campus, feedback on how we can continue to be clear with our own signage, but also some practice for them. So that would be the only, that's not quite what you're asking, but I think speaks to a little bit of the general place where you're going.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, that answers my question. Thank you.
All right. Right, Kenny. Oh, then I don't have any extra questions to add to those of Commissioner Chung and Commissioner Sill. So we can now move to comments from the public, I believe, on this project.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and take public comment. So there are no members of the public in the schoolhouse. We have 12 members of the public on Zoom. Thomas will just run the timer in the background to give everybody a sense of how long their comments are taking. We try to keep people to 3 minutes. It doesn't have to be super strict tonight through the chair's discretion, but just to kind of remind people about how long they're taking. So the first person we have hand up is a phone number ending in 7562, and I believe that's Caroline.
Thank you very much, Laura. Laura, can you advise this council or this ASCC committee if the Priory has fulfilled the requirements for the previous amended CUP, which was presented to the Planning Commission December 1st? Well, it was a series of meetings, but I think the last one was December 1st, 2021. They were supposed to submit an annual report, and I believe that deadline was December 2022. Secondly, Mr. Ruff, I really appreciate the Priory. It's a great asset to Portola Valley, but as I have mentioned to you before, I have concerns that I have concerns because only 20% of students in Portola Valley attend your school. We have major issues with traffic, and that was one of the issues that I have addressed and many others have addressed for that amended CUP in December 21, and I don't think that has been mitigated. So I hope we can get some answers there. I have seen, I mean, I was hoping that this commission was going to comment on the lighting, especially of the gym. It looks like there is a glass on top, and I don't know if you guys see this, but when I see Kenyatta College and I see the glass, which is illuminated 24 hours, it's an eyesore in the Bay Area. And since Portola Valley is very concerned about lighting after 10 o'clock, I was hoping that this committee was going to speak up and ask for some mitigation. And then, of course, I have questions regarding construction. It looks like you're going to use Georgia Lane, but there's no road there. And if you could specify which road you're going to use, there are trails involved, there's creeks involved. Yeah, I would like to have some more details how this project is going to be worked out without disturbing our natural resources. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Vertonghen. The applicant is allowed to address any of those comments if they would like to.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Carolyn. Appreciate that. Just the annual report, we submit that at the end of the academic year. So we submitted in June of 2022, and then we'll submit again in June of 2023. So those are filed with the town. So we'll submit ours again in June of 2023. So that's that annual report. Laura did a great job of kind of streamlining the information, but also I think adding some more relevant information for the report. Good for us, good data for us as well. So I think that's been a good shift for us, and she's got it automated. So, and it's also, there's a historical part of the report too. So it kind of gives the last kind of 5 years of data. So I think it's actually a good report for us, but I think also for the town, I think that'll be helpful. The 20%, hey, listen, we'd love as many Portola Valley kids as possible to come to Priory. So, obviously we have a pool of kids that apply, and we work really hard to enroll, that pool. We want to make sure all students are going to be successful at Priory. And as you know, Carolyn, that's students who are academically ready, who understand and want to really support and buy into our values, but then also who want to really share their gifts and get involved in life outside of the classroom. So we're generous, I think, with our Portola Valley Accepts. We're just going through our process now. We'll finish up the admissions notifications in mid-March. But we again will continue to work hard to enroll as many people as possible from Portola Valley. We are somewhat limited by the pool that applies. We want to be, again, as open to as many as possible, but we certainly recognize the challenges there. And then I'll let Carter kind of talk a little bit about the glass, in the gym.
Before we step away from
Sure.
from your part, Patrick, I think you should report to the ASCC the shifts that you've made in the traffic and the status of the traffic study.
Yeah, great point. So, Carolyn, you remember this too. Part of our conditional use permit was to shift our traffic patterns and then study those shifts. And so we've changed the way we do drop off and pick up. So before everyone used to enter, I guess, into what we would call the main entrance, the main driveway. That's the driveway closest to Georgia Lane. And now we've shifted that so that everyone enters on Gambetta Lane, and campus traffic goes one way, kind of coming in through Gambetta Lane and then all the way down through campus and then exiting that way. So part of the bottleneck that we heard during our CUP amendment at that main entrance were student cars trying to turn into campus from either way, and then cars trying to turn out of campus right and left. And so it did create, particularly at certain times of the day, some real challenges and headaches. And as you rightly pointed out, and others did too, and we saw, there were some moments where it wasn't as safe as it could be. And so we've mitigated that. We have no more, kind of backups on Portola Road. It's been much safer for us, much more efficient for us as well. I have 2 boys at the school, and I have been in that drop-off line in the mornings, and it's just much smoother and better and simpler and easier because the drop-off is extended, and the backup and wait times are much less. We've also had that studied, by an independent traffic group, and we've submitted that report to the town, as well. So, yeah, good reminder on that.
The glass, at the gym, through the chair, I do think, could be, a concern, and I think it's legitimate, to be concerned about the indoor lighting bleeding out. Part of what, this gym will do is reduce the hours of operation, so that they won't be extending, into, the 10 o'clock time frame. Because I agree with the public comment, that Kenyatta looks like a mess up there because of how long the lights were. And it's our intention, to self-manage, the hours of operation so those lights wouldn't be on, beyond, when they're actually needed. The construction staging is a challenge, and at this time we're engaging with a general construction team that has built more athletic facilities in the Bay Area than anybody else, to try to study how the construction staging needs to be developed. It is our intention to not use Georgia Lane as our principal access. I do think there may be some of the structural elements, particularly for the long spans of the roof, that would need to, to come in, the Georgia Lane entrance. But I think the principal, general construction activities, would be managed, through the main entrance, to the campus, kind of coming in, kind of from each end, one end from one end of the gym and the other end, from, the Performing Arts Center. There's a parking area that there in front of the pool, that would provide, good access from one end and from the other. But again, I think there are provisions, in the existing conditional use permit, around, around activities and impacts that would give the Planning Commission and the ASCC the opportunity, to control and limit, the activities, on Georgia Lane, because it's not our intention, that be the primary access, because there's no way that it could be.
Right. All right. Thank you very much for addressing the public comment. We do have some more public comments, it looks like.
We do. Next is Dana. Hi, Dana.
Unmute, got it. Unmute. I have a screaming 2-year-old in the background, so apologies for that. Kevin Schwarzkopf, it's so good to see you in the audience. It's been a long time, and hello, sir. Carolyn Vertonghen expressed my concerns about the lighting. I wanted to point out, I get a little concerned back behind where the new gym is going. There seem to be a lot of declining Monterey pines up that hill. And I think, yes, with fire, looking at fire, Kenny's idea, that I think that all of those trees need to come down. And then the thing that I worried the most about, and I didn't study this well, is the buildings that are up on top of the hill, the monastery, the chapel. They are on top of the hill. So it's very important that those places stay dark. So that's another thing. I'm worried about parking. What if there are 2 games going on in each gym? It seems more often than not now, there's more parking in the front of the school, which is in the scenic corridor. And we always tried to keep that kind of free from parking. So I want to make sure that there is going to be adequate parking for both of these facilities. And I'm just so delighted that you guys came for a preliminary meeting and that you're looking for feedback from the ASCC, because I think it's going to be helpful and wonderful for you. And thank you for taking advantage of that. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana.
Next, we have Kim Cashin.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Our property backs up to the Priory, and I just wanted to publicly comment that we fully support the Woodside Priory School's request to develop the proposed facilities that are under review. Our children, even though they attend the public school district system here in Portola Valley, for the past several years, they have participated in the Priory sports programs that are offered to any children in the community. And I have to say their program, the Priory sports program, is a local hidden gem. It's one that is deserving of new facilities. And quite frankly, all the schools in our area do need upgrades to their facilities. As you can see, there's ongoing construction. We can't move forward to enrich the lives of our children if we continue to roadblock plans. We deserve better for our children and for our community. So we fully support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cashin. Do we have any other public comments? Hands raised.
Yes, next we have Greg.
Good evening. Excellent project, terrific presentation. And I had a question actually on a adjacent subject, an important one. I think everybody participating tonight is aware that the town is in the process of trying to finalize its housing element submission as part of the 6th cycle to the HCD. And it was impossible not to notice some new faculty housing sketches in the master plan materials that were part of tonight's agenda. And I was just wondering whether Mr. Rush or representative of the Priory would care to speak a little bit on that matter, even though it's not before and part of the integral part of your concept plan, but it's very important to our community as far as perhaps having those units, affordable units particularly, included in our housing element RENA quota. So I don't know whether you're prepared to do this tonight, Patrick, but it would be great if you could speak a little bit about your plans for those housing units and potentially the timing of construction. Thanks.
Are we talking about the ones that have already been constructed?
No.
Different.
Right, so we have 8 more that have been approved in our master plan. Greg, thanks for the comment. I'm so grateful that the people that sat in my seat before had the foresight to really think about housing and particularly how it would impact our school community. Our teachers, like our monks, our people, are the greatest resource we have. And Priory is built around our relationships and our stories, and it's the people that really develop those relationships and share their stories that help our students really learn and grow. And it's not just about the knowledge that they get, but it's about really trying to cultivate wisdom in them. And again, that comes from relationships and stories, and people are the linchpin there. So having places for them to live so that we can attract the right people to develop those relationships, share their stories, and develop that wisdom is critical for us. My first year, we we built those 6 houses. The construction literally started like my first day of on the job, which was fun. So I didn't really have anything to do with the planning, just got to oversee the building, which was a delight too. And at this time, you know, we have the houses, you know, on the ready. You know, we're certainly don't have, you know, concrete plans to build them right now. We don't necessarily have the need in terms of our own faculty and staff right now. I do think if we built, perhaps more would want to live on campus, but we don't have a long waiting list in terms of people right now to be in those houses. But we're certainly, we have those houses ready. We have some thoughts about what they would look like, but we do not have definitive timelines, you know, for them. So we certainly want to continue to work with the town and be partners with the town. And if that's helpful for the town, then obviously we're happy to revisit that again. But we want to continue to work with town. But at this time, no definitive plans, just the concepts that we do have some spots located and some ideas about what the housing, you know, would look like. It's pricey. It's, you know, it's not inexpensive, as you know, to build. And so all those things require, you know, some support and financial support. And so we're attentive to that too.
And through the chair, just so that people know, Patrick and I have spoken about this 5 times, probably
6,
maybe 6, in the course of the housing element planning. So we have been in communication on this, but they just have not been able to signal to the town that they anticipate building during this housing element cycle. So if that were to change, then we would resume those conversations. But that's why they weren't included in the housing element.
Right. And unfortunately, resources are limited, aren't they, all the time? All right. So we do have more public comments coming up.
Yeah, next is Christy.
Yes, this looked like a really interesting ads and to the Priory, and you know, a lot of it looked really beautiful. I like the gathering places. I'm not so keen on the windows. In fact, I'm surprised to see all the windows at Corte Madera as well. And we're wondering as we hike by if there will be different levels within the windows that we're seeing at Corte Madera. So I can only imagine that it would look almost exactly alike. So I am curious if who was the builder at Corte Madera and is the same architect for the Priory. And that's one question. So anytime that you cross out things, can you show the public the red line crossouts? Can you add blue word additions? It allows us to read things quickly. And anytime you can embed links into what you're showing us, like the sections of the municipal code, so the public can click on it quickly. And as we go through the agenda, that would be much appreciated. I was reading mainly are we talking about now the resolution at all? Or are we just talking about the new concept? Or are we talking about also the new CUP versus the old CUP? So if we're looking at old versus new, where are the new parking places? The 15 parking places show the added square footage of increases in the 2 permanent modules. Since you'll be increasing size, what is the floor area increase for each module? I don't even know if they're built yet, so I'm not fully following this, but why are the 2 modules 50 feet from the scenic corridor versus 75 feet? I thought it was a 75-foot setback. So that's a question. Did the town give an concession or variance on the 75-foot setback? That's my question. Maybe I haven't gone to enough of these meetings. It looks like there's requests for full exemption of CEQA versus a mitigated negative declaration. Can you please explain this? Will the town have reason to make mitigations in the future? Is it in the best interest of the town and the residents? I noticed the CUP says traffic and parking assessment report conducted has no substantial changes to the local street volume. But if the Priory adds students, how could there be no change to the street volume? So I know since you made the change to Gambetta Lane and you have everyone going in on Gambetta, were the neighbors notified that are on the other side of the fences there, that change was made, and how is it affecting them now? Were you able to go talk to them, knock on their door? Does this work for you? I guess that would be, I think, a nice thing to do and see how they're feeling about the change of traffic on Gambetta and how it might.
Christy, you've gone over your 3 minutes.
I still have a few more things that I'd like to say if possible. If this is our time to comment.
Christy, could I help by clarifying that this is a conceptual design review for these future buildings? And I think you're referring to the attachment to the staff report. And the attachment to the staff report is a resolution that was adopted by the Planning Commission in December of 2021. So that's the last amendment to the conditional use permit. So the ASCC is not considering the CUP at this time. The resolution was included for information for the ASCC.
Thank you, Laura. Okay, well, I do have comments about putting green islands and trees into parking lots and what, since this is the ASCC visually, what we might see is, can we come up with, you know, what visually we expect with large development, larger parking lots, what does the town of Portola Valley want to see? And then my other question is, we have a choice of adjusting a CUP or do we write a development agreement, and which one is more advantageous to the town and residents of Portola Valley? I want some clarity on this, and always with these rain issues, I want to hear more about, as you come forward, the drainage and retention and culvert improvements. As I drove through the property today and noticed a lot of water runoff from the hill and it going down the streets, and how those areas could be improved, such as the trails, the bike, and the walking places for the children right outside the track. I couldn't walk on that trail outside the track if I wanted to. It looks like it's under a foot of water. So how can we build the drainage and improvements into the projects? Because with more cement brings more drainage issues. And I just ask you to walk that trail in front and see how we can improve together, working with the Priory and the town in getting those walkways not to flood and looking at drainage closer. I do have other comments, but I can write them, I suppose. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christy.
Next, we have Rita.
Hi, I just want to second Dana's comments earlier. I really appreciate the Priory just coming early with these ideas. You know, there have been other meetings like the one that Laura just mentioned in 2021, where you showed, you know, your future buildings, and here you are coming with the concepts and with the RENA numbers that and the amount of housing and construction that's going to be coming into Portola Valley in the next couple of years. It's nice to have this be part of the picture. And I just hope that, you know, since there seems to be no limitations on what can be built at any one time or staged at any one time, that it can be coordinated so that there's no problems on Portola Road. But it's always good when people are trying to fix up their buildings, because you guys have been around for a long time, and I hope and expect you to be around for a lot longer. Thank you for beautifying your buildings and doing the upkeep.
Right. Thank you, Rita.
I don't see any other hands up. We'll do a last call for public comments on this conceptual review. And as a reminder for members of the public, the ASCC is not taking any action tonight. They are just giving feedback and recommendations to the design team as they continue to work on their project. Okay, no additional public comments.
Right, I will then close the public hearing and comments and bring it back to the commission for discussion. Commissioner Chung, would you like to go first?
Sure. Thank you. I think on the whole, it does look like a very carefully considered project. That it's obvious. It's easy to see how it's an improvement for the Priory and its students. And as we heard from one of the members of the public, the public who can avail themselves of opportunities provided by Priory, which is really great for Priory to open these opportunities up to the community. I think Carter is well versed in the town's design guidelines, and that shows. His pointing out the height being a potential problem also shows that his knowledge of the design guidelines. I think that in combination with the clear story windows and the possibility for that building to be used after dark is a really difficult thing to be proposing. And I guess that there's some awareness of this. There's the problem of lighting on the buildings being directly visible from other places in town, but there's also the problem of light pollution into the night sky, which it needs to be a collective effort by everybody to minimize that kind of light pollution, for there to be the sort of nighttime environment that we've enjoyed, and that the community treasures so much. So for a building that can be used at night, and with a program that includes use at night, even if it's meant to reduce nighttime use overall, I think the lighting and light spill is a significant issue. So I would like to see some mitigations there, and particularly in the details, as you sort out the lighting specifications throughout the project. Outside of that, I appreciate the it being mentioned that there will be discussions with the Conservation Committee. I think this commission takes those very seriously, and looks to see that their recommendations are being carefully considered as well. So I think, which is just to say that those are important to us as a recommending body, and the attention to wildfire safety is definitely appreciated, and I think we'll be looking to see that continue and evident in the landscaping plan. I think that's it. Patrick thank you for reaching out and I'm sorry that in the small amount of time we had since the packet was published that we couldn't find non-business hours for me to take you up on the opportunity to view the site. I would like to at some point, hopefully we can find a time that's convenient for you as well before you all come back for the final final consideration. I'm sure we can find a time.
Yeah, we can figure that offline, Kenny. That'd be great.
Thank you. That's it for me.
All right.
Through the
Thank you,
chair,
Ken.
should we have any discussion or should I wait till the comments?
Should we?
I would wait
until-
till all the comments and then you can have some discussion.
That'd be great.
All right. No, thank you. Commissioner Sill?
Okay, thanks, Jane. I would like to reiterate that I think it's great that the project team is coming forward with a conceptual review. This seems like the perfect kind of project to have a chance to talk a little bit about it in advance of doing the actual ASCC reviews on the specific buildings. I am disappointed that I didn't get to do the site visit, but I will be back in town relatively soon. And before we start looking at the detailed building projects, I would like to come do a site visit at that point. Overall, I think that the changes to the master plan make very good sense. I like the proposals. I think that the whole rendering of the new athletic court area is great. It makes a lot of sense to me, and it looks very good. I think that I'm not likely to have any big objection to the height being a little high on the gym. That makes sense. As others have stated, I do have some heartburn about all the windows and the potential for light spill. So that's definitely something to think about as we move forward on that project. But basically the gym, the fitness center, the upgrade to the lockers, that whole space I think looks great. And I think it's a very clever design, very appropriate for that portion of the campus. The upgrades to the chapel and the monastery, I mean, it's the core of the function of the site, right? So I think that it makes sense to keep them so that they are in great shape. And with the detail that we have on the chapel, it looks good. We don't have detail on the monastery yet, but I'm confident that you can do something that makes a lot of sense there too. So I think what has been presented looks to me like it's very, very good and well thought out. Like I said, the lights from the gym, I have a little bit of concern there, and I think that's something to pay attention to. There's a whole bunch of details that we don't have yet, and I know that Carter and his team are experts in all this stuff. But as these things come forward, the things that I'm going to be looking at are we using the minimal lighting that's required for safety and nothing beyond that? And landscaping with native plants as much as practical and getting buy-in from the Conservation Committee. Managing light spill from the windows, and then being careful with the finishes on the building so that to the extent that they're visible from off campus, that they don't have a negative impact on people's views. But really, I think the site design is excellent. And I like the way that you're basically just building in areas that were already used, and you're not developing in native areas. And from what I can tell, just looking at the maps, I don't expect this to have much of a visual impact for anyone, although it is possible that those windows in the gym might be a little bit visible from Georgia Lane. And what's been presented so far in terms of architectural design, I think looks very good. it fits, and you know, while looking good and fitting, it also manages to clear that you've paid attention to fire safety too. From a landscape design, you know, there's just not much yet, but I'm sure that if you're working with conservation, that the proposals that we get will be good. So congratulations. I think this is well thought out and is definitely on the right track. And, you know, I look forward to getting the actual detailed designs as they're completed.
Thank you.
Right, thank you, Commissioner Sill. Right, I too have enjoyed the fact that you came before us for the conceptual review. And I think the main thing that I'm hearing from the fellow commissioners is the problem with the light spill. But I've always been very impressed by the way that the Priory manages to manage historical respect for the buildings that they have with the latest technology. And I'm sure that you would be able to come up with some sort of system whereby those windows were either had blinds or motorized screens that could shut the light spill out from a certain time at night. So that was one thing that I thought of. Sorry. I liked the way that I have to say I was lucky enough to be able to visit this afternoon, so I did actually see where the story poles were starting to be marked out, and where the extensions were going to be on the chapel, and the setting into the hillside of the gym and the fitness center. The chapel to me seems to be just the right thing to do, and sensible. The expansion to the locker rooms, I think, possibly well overdue from the size of them. Can't believe that you have that many children trying to change. And then you've also got to consider the future. So you've got to consider the gender non-binary privacy issues. So I think you've considered a lot of these things thoughtfully and come up with these designs thoughtfully. I would like to see the lighting situation changed on the gym. I haven't got any issues with the roof heights on the gym or the fitness center. I know that you are considering and considerate of the trees that you will be removing, but I have also witnessed the damage that some of them are currently showing to the buildings that you do have. So I think you've got a good team that are going to weigh up all of these things for you. You've got an attitude that you look to the future and that you take in new technology. So I think you can come up with a really good solution for the light spill. And I'm very glad that you came forward before. And hopefully next time, more of our commissioners will be able to visit at the same time so that we don't waste your time. Okay.
Never a waste.
Well, and we're still waiting for 2 more commissioners. So
We're ready for them.
all right. All right. So hopefully the comments will have given you a guide for this evening.
Yeah.
And then if you did have something further to say, as you indicated, Carter.
No, actually, through the chair, what you talked about with the motorized blinds, and kind of blackout shades, the technology is readily available, easy to implement, easy to automate, so that it doesn't become discretionary on the part of of the management or the team or the coach, so that at a certain hour, those blinds go down and go all the way down. And even if the lights accidentally were on, the impact could be eliminated. Because one of the things that we're trying to do with those clear story windows, is to, create a gym that is, mostly naturally light. from a sustainability and energy standpoint, that's the best way, to light those spaces. At the same time, being able to darken, the room so that during the day, if they are having, a projection activity or some kind of lighted, event, those blackout shades will be of interest to have, for both the inside darkness and for the outside darkness. So it is something that we would have implemented anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that, we will come back, with the deck, with the proposal to continue to have the clerestory windows, but to have them motorized with blackout shades.
Right. All right.
If I could, because we want to take this opportunity to really be thoughtful, and we're working with them to think about how some of this work is going to be phased and then the timing of the CUP amendment. So I want to make sure that I feel like we staff have captured all of that as we work together with them and kind of understand your comments. So from our point of view, the larger entitlements, so to speak, and the ones that are really connected to the CUP amendment are for the new gym, and because that's 21,000 square feet. And then the new fitness center at 43, almost 4,500 square feet. Those are a little bit larger in scale. But we want to make sure that we have an opportunity to kind of move forward the locker room addition and remodel and chapel addition and remodel on different timing, if that makes sense for the overall process and for the CUP.
Right.
So I think I'm hearing from all three commissioners that you're feeling a good amount of comfort with the locker room addition and the chapel addition at this stage. Is that fair to say?
Well,
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure we've got that right. I mean, it sounds like there's some solutions for the gym as well, but we just want to work with them in the most expeditious way. And anytime we do a CUP amendment, there's always going to be a lot of interest in that. And we just want to make sure that we're considering the right pieces at the right time so that people have a chance to participate, but it doesn't take longer than it has to. So this is from a staff point of view, it's very helpful. A couple of things that I have observed over the years at the Priory that I'd like everyone to be mindful of is the access to all the different parts of the campus from a fire point of view. And I've talked with them about that, and I think we're in good shape on those items now, but I always want us to keep that in mind when we're looking at all of the driveways and all of the access points so that fire trucks and fire personnel can always get to all the different points. So if everyone could kind of keep that in mind. And over the years, our longstanding land uses at the Priory and both at the Sequoias have gone in the direction of more native planting, but there's older portions of the campus that may still have more non-natives. And everyone understands that, right? And the ASCC has been understanding around more non-natives that are more central to the buildings and more to the central courtyards. But I think that the way things have been going, it's an appropriate time to take the next step forward and have even more native plants, even in those areas that are adjacent to the buildings, and creating those common spaces and the open spaces that you're hoping to achieve. So those are just a couple of things that have come to mind from a staff point of view as we've been looking at the progression of the Priory over time. So that's all that I wanted to add to the discussion.
If I could, through the chair, there was one caveat, Laura, that I wanted to mention, on the CUP stuff, is that the current conditional use permit anticipates about a 5,000 square foot addition, for athletics. And we were hoping, to move the fitness center, forward a little more quickly because it was already anticipated. It's not exactly in the same spot. It's in the same neighborhood. It goes from, on the conditional use permit, it's behind and attached to the back of the gym. And we've made this shift, to try to make that an outdoor space instead. And we're moving it a little further away so that it's on the other side of the swimming pool. So I was hoping to get ASCC reaction, to that shift, from that 5,000 square foot, 1-story blob, being on the back of the gym, versus taking that square footage and actually pushing it into the hill, and stacking it up, on the other side of the swimming pool. And so that was the one set of, of kind of design issues that I was hoping to get some response from, from the commissioners. So if I could,
Right.
through the chair, ask that.
All right. Well, I know my responses to that, so I will ask Commissioner Chung and Commissioner Sill to comment on that first.
So do I understand correctly? The question is our feeling as to whether or not this is this would be compliant with the existing CUP?
Not exactly. It's more kind of, there's an existing approved master plan, but everyone knows that that's conceptual, right? And so now they're coming forward, with kind of a specific implementation of that. And it's a little bit different than what they planned before, now that they're really developing it. So what is your reaction to that plan in a kind of a larger sense? Do you feel like the site planning kind of design guidelines, concepts, those types of things? Do you think that the way they're proposing it now is appropriate?
Yes, I don't see an issue with the fitness center under a presumption that it fits within conceptually fits within the approved master plan.
Right. Thank you.
I agree with Kenny. I think that it seems reasonable to me. I think it's close enough to what was in the original master plan to say that it fits.
Right, and I also agree with both of my fellow commissioners, because I think physical health and mental health for students, young people, is incredibly important, and anybody that is willing to add resources for children, teenagers to be sporty, athletic, and encourage that is a great thing. So I would be all in favor.
Okay, and final determinations about fitting within the conditional use permit rest with the Planning Commission, but that's upon the staff's recommendation. And so one of the most important things we wanted to do was to get this initial feedback from the ASCC and have a chance for the residents to participate as well. And so in case anyone's wondering about the town's policies, when there's ultimately going to be a conditional use permit amendment related to a project, we send notice to 1,000 feet around the property site instead of just 300. So we did use the larger radius notice so that we could hear from members of the community as well. So we certainly have achieved that, and that will help us to work with the applicant to come up with the plan for the future meetings and the CUP amendment, and as well as for the environmental review.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Does that help?
That was really perfect, because we were trying to parse out the parts that are kind of easy and normal versus the hard parts.
Right. Right. All right. Thank you very much. So
that'll close that item. So thank you very much for coming down in person. It's nice to see people in real life.
Good to be here.
and we will.
Thank you, guys. I don't know if you can,
Thanks.
I don't know if the camera's turning. It doesn't look like it.
A little more into the mic, and then it should turn your way. Yeah.
Camera, can you find me?
We saw the tips of your hands.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Really appreciate
Okay, thank you.
Look to seeing you again soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
it. Yes.
Right. All right, so on to the next item on our agenda, which is commission and staff reports. since our last meeting. Commissioner Chung, have you any commissioner reports?
No new business outside of the regular meetings.
Right, Commissioner Sill, I assume you're also.
Yeah, I have not had any site visits because I've been out of town, but I will be back within a week or so, and hopefully I'll be able to contribute a little bit better after that.
Well, I haven't had any either, so you didn't need to, you haven't missed anything, Al. So I think we will now move over to the staff report, and Laura.
Okay, I have a couple of calendar and logistic updates for you. So this is a reminder that at the end of February, we end the legal opportunity to have hybrid meetings where the decision-making body or committee or commission is not physically present. So everyone remember, starting on March 1st, we are going back to members of the commission need to be present here in the schoolhouse for our meetings. So please make those arrangements. And if you are not able to attend a meeting, please let me know so that we can make those arrangements.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
All right. I did read somewhere that if a commission decides that they do not want a hybrid meeting after March the 1st, they can just contain the meeting to, say, schoolhouse rather than having Zoom comments as well.
So committees have the option of going to just an in-person meeting and not having the Zoom component. So my very strong recommendation to the ASCC is to continue with the hybrid format. The focus of meetings, I would suspect, will come back to being in person because you will all be in person. And I think applicants will be more likely to come and neighbors will be more likely to come. But we have provided an opportunity for more residents to participate by letting them participate via Zoom.
Right.
So we haven't gotten any direct direction. We haven't gotten any direction from council related to the commissions, but it has been my assumption that we would maintain a hybrid format.
Okay. Right. But it is an option.
It is an option for the committees. If ASCC wanted to go strictly in person, then we would need to check in with the council on that.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, then other upcoming things that are important for the community, we have related to the housing element, we have a planning commission meeting on a special day, which is Monday, March 6th, where the planning commission will be making hopefully final recommendations to the town council related to the housing element and the related conforming general plan amendments. Then we expect the town council to talk about the housing element on 3 consecutive Wednesday nights, March 15th, 22nd, and 29th. We'll be putting out some more information about what's going to be covered at each of those different nights. But we do know that on March 22nd, our consultants will be available from our environmental team to answer any questions from the council. And then on the 29th, we expect them to make a final decision unless they change their mind on how they wish to move forward on that. In terms of ASCC, we've got a couple projects coming up over the next few meetings. We've been working with Cal Water on a number of projects of improvements to some of their existing sites. So some of those are going to start to be coming through in the upcoming meetings. We've also been working for quite a long time with the Alpine Inn related to improvements to that site. That's a historic building, so we've been taking a lot of time and care with that. So that will be coming forward in the next few meetings. And then we've got a couple other things, routine kind of single family projects coming as well.
Thank you.
Also wanted to let you know that there are 2 applications right now that have come in for single family homes where they wish to maintain their existing double access driveway, sometimes called a loop driveway. And those applications, if they're requested by the applicant, those have to be heard by the Bicycle Pedestrian Traffic Safety Committee because they are actually the decision maker on keeping a 2 access driveway. And so on Wednesday morning, the 1st, the BPTS is going to consider 2 of those applications. And those will be coming to the ASCC at a future meeting.
Right.
So this is not a very common procedure that we go through. We happen to have 2 at once. So I just wanted to alert that to you, and we will give you an update on what the BPTS's decision is when those projects come before the ASCC. And then we are waiting for the council to appoint 2 more ASCC commissioners. Many of you are aware, but we want to make sure that everybody is aware that our town manager, Jeremy, is going to be moving on from town employment. And so that's a very important priority of the council at this time. So we can all understand that. So the council is putting some focus and attention onto that. So I will keep you updated as that situation evolves as well. So there is a lot going on in the month of March for everybody involved in town activities. So as always, I just ask everybody to approach all of our upcoming meetings with patience and kindness because we've got a lot on our plates, all of us, residents, staff, council, commissions, and working together, we can move through all of that.
Yeah.
So that's what I've got for you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
How long do we think it's going to be with our skeleton ASCC staff?
I know that they are working very hard to schedule interviews, and I know they were looking at the first week of March. So hopefully we'll be able to do it then to get new ASCC members.
So this week or next week?
Next week, I believe, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm sorry if I have misspoken because my focus has been on the housing element this week.
Right. And there are currently 3 applicants.
I don't know for sure.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right. Thank you. Al, did you have any questions?
No questions.
Kenny, did you have any questions?
No questions from me. Thank you.
All right. So
We have 2 members of the public.
all
So
right, let's go to
Caroline Vertonghen, please go ahead.
Looks like you're on mute.
Caroline, it looks like you're still muted on your end. Okay, why don't we go ahead and go to Rita and we'll give Caroline a moment. Rita, you can go ahead.
Thank you for taking my comment, and I'll look and see if I can find those dates that you just ran off. All the different dates, are they located in one spot? Or are they just minutes from previous meetings, or I'm not sure, but I just want to say for these hybrid meetings, you know, it seems like it's, yeah, the room is empty right now, but it makes it very convenient. You know, we've had several robberies, not just in Portola Valley, but off of Arrestadero, just off of Alpine Road, and in the neighboring areas. And so having hybrid meetings rather than people leaving their homes, and then there are people that have young kids and the kids would be in bed. You know, I'm looking at Kenny, you know, so it makes it a little bit, yes, you know, so, you know, it makes it really convenient. And since I bought my property in 2009, there are several young families that have moved into town, and having the hybrid meetings has made it, you know, this very accessible, and hopefully it'll be extended to the committees too, that they will have it. And I know some of the committees have been having problems with the software, or the software has been having problems and then giving people headaches in that room. But I just want to say for, you know, for me, having my daughter and not having to leave the house, it makes it very, very convenient. And so thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Rita. Right.
Let's try Caroline again. Caroline, you should have the ability to unmute on your end. We see you on a computer profile, not on the phone. Maybe Caroline, if you wish to speak, could you raise your hand on the phone line instead so that we know? Okay, now we have a hand up from Greg. Let's try Greg.
Through the chair, Laura, perhaps, regarding the schedule you outlined, could you remind us which meetings, if any, our elected representatives have been invited to attend, please? So that would be Senator Becker and Assemblyman Berman in particular. We had Ray Mueller last week, so, but I understand that the other two elected representatives may have been also invited to participate in our deliberations. Thanks.
We have had, our representatives have been invited to council meetings, but it has not been specifically related to the housing element. So they've been invited to speak and to answer questions and to participate, but there's not a direct connection to the housing element. And I'm sorry, I don't have the latest schedule. I know that a couple of them had to be adjusted. So you can keep your eye on the council agenda to see when the representatives are coming.
And where's the, sorry.
I'm sorry, Greg, your microphone seems to be quite distorted. We can't really hear what you're saying.
Oh, I was wondering, I just had a supplementary follow-up. Where exactly is a good place to look for that, Laura? Do you have to look in the agendas to each of the committee meetings, or where would that be easily visible and posted?
The easiest place I think to look is from the homepage across the top banner. There's a link for the calendar, and that'll take you to all of the town meetings that are being held that month. And if our representatives are coming, it would be to town council meetings. So you can look at each of those town council agendas, and the agendas are normally going to be published the Friday before the Wednesday meeting. So that I think is the easiest way to find it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I was just going to try Carolyn one more time because we don't want to leave anybody out. Caroline, you should be able to unmute on your end or raise your hand on your phone. Okay. Oh, wait, here comes the phone. Let's see there. Carolyn, if you're there, unmute one place or the other, and otherwise we'll have to wrap up. Okay, through the chair, if it's all right, we'll go ahead and move on. Sorry, Carolyn, we're not able to connect with you.
Okay. Right, so that's the closure of the public comments. The next item of business is the approval of the minutes from February the 13th, 2023. Does anybody have any changes or comments on our minutes?
They look fine to me.
They look good to me.
Yeah, they are quite, I did notice they are quite brief now.
Yes. Yes, the ASCC minutes are quite brief. And so this is the format that we switched to the action minutes. The only time we would have those very detailed minutes is if for some reason we had an appeal of an action of this body, then we would do verbatim minutes. So everyone had that transcript.
Right, okay, then I need a motion to approve the minutes, please.
I'll move to approve the minutes from the February 13th meeting as written.
I'll second.
Through the chair, we should just double check public comment on the minutes.
All right then.
Please raise your hand if you'd like to make public comment on the minutes. And there are no hands up. So we have a motion and a second. I'd like to do a roll call vote since we're in different rooms. Commissioner Sill,
Yes.
Commissioner Chung,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
All right. Well, that seems to bring us to the adjournment of the meeting for today. hopefully see both of you in person next
Yeah.
time.
You'll see me for sure.
Me and Laura have been very, very lonely. But it does mean I can read her computer and she can read mine, so it's quite handy that way. So anyway, but see you in a couple of weeks' time then.
Okay.
Everyone,
All right.
safe
Good night.
travels. Good night.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.